entrepreneurs are overrepresented among millionaires. So once again, not employee shaming. Entrepreneurs are 20% of total employees in America, but they're 4 times more likely to be represented in the millionaire population. So those who, and when I say entrepreneur, I'm also going to include side hustles, passive income, and a term that I stole, just like I did geriatric millennial. You heard this term, polyworkers?
No.
Yeah. So once again, Twitter, polyworker is someone, actually it said millennials, and I think Gen Z, which is the term for under 25 apparently. They're not choosing full-time work. So all those TikTokers out there, they're choosing multiple jobs and multiple income streams rather than traditional full-time work.
That makes sense, though. I feel like I'm hearing more and more about that. And then I would even say for those people that maybe identify with traditional employment, and you're seeing this statistic where 4 times more likely to be a millionaire if you're an entrepreneur, I agree with Marcus that you could be having a side hustle nights and weekends and put yourself in that category.
And I wrote another one down, is that that millennial optimism, 60% expect to be millionaires in their lifetime. 60% of millennials expect to be millionaires in their lifetime.
Well, that definitely helps with the mindset. That's important.
Yeah, let's come back to that. Then I'm going to turn this one over to you. I have thoughts and opinions, but I will defer accordingly. For the gender gap, 9% earning at least $100,000 more, as we talked about earlier. 2 times as many men earning a 6-figure salary than women. And I think I'm going to stop the screen share because I think you have a story around this experience that you
I do have a story. So a quick story about how to be empowered when negotiating your salary. So when I started out at Bloomberg, I was in a male-dominated industry. We had females, but predominantly more male. And so I went in and negotiated for my salary. I think I probably could have done it better. I decided I was going to be their best salesperson. I decided I should let them know, and I deserved a raise in anticipation of being the best. I found out they don't actually pay in advance of sales. They pay after you are the best salesperson. But in hindsight, I'm glad that I did it. I found out from one of the managers years later, I've stayed in touch. He now has 3 daughters. At the time, I think everybody was a little floored that I would be so bold to go in and ask for such a large raise. And we were having, catching up, I want to say like 5 years later. And he was like, at the time I didn't really recognize it, but you were right to do that, being a female in that industry and a young female, that, advocating for yourself is so important. And I'm going to make sure my daughters do that too, because I wasn't confirmed, but it was implied that I was being underpaid compared to my male counterparts. And so I think a lot of time women don't want to have it's an uncomfortable conversation. And I find that women kind of, it's uncomfortable. So therefore they're just going to wait and hope that their work shows that they deserve more money rather than there's nothing lost from the conversation. You can go in and say you feel that you should be paid more. And we'll go over like how to kind of justify that from a business standpoint and not an emotional standpoint. And it's uncomfortable, but it's only uncomfortable for that moment. And then you're done. And if you're being underpaid, it's a great way to kind of move your salary band up.
So one question, and y'all have made it through the first 15 minutes, and actually have people join rather than drop. So, I've been on webinars where it's like, I'm like, oh, that's what's up. Not me, of course. I'm in the chat room. So I'm going to drop the first offer in the chat room. It'll actually be yours, 7 days of financial strategy, and it's yours free. So this is your first free offer.
Yep.
That should be dropping right now. So you get free access to that. Do you want to speak to, and the question I was going to have for you is, did you make that ask out of blissful ignorance, or did you go in informed as far as asking for more salary? Like, what led you to ask for that? Because I do believe that is what's being discussed and encouraged now, is to negotiate your salary.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And negotiation it's a huge point, because typically your biggest opportunity is when you get that new job versus once you're in the firm. I went in as an entry-level person and had moved my way up and was now on a sales team. I'd passed all my qualifications. And so I felt that once I succeeded through the sales program, had all my qualifications, was now going to be a salesperson, my salary needed to move up to equate to a salesperson and not an entry-level customer service rep, which is where I was. Their argument back to me, which was fine, was you haven't done any sales. You were just allowed up. I was in the basement studying for all my sales training. You've just been released from the basement. We need to see some numbers. And that was fine. So then I said to them, the counter argument was like, okay, if I want to outline what I need to do. Like, how many accounts do I need to close? What revenue do I need to bring into? Because this is where I want to be salary wise. And I know from research that salary is a reasonable salary for a financial salesperson. So can you please tell me what I need to do then to get there so we can reevaluate this in 6 months, which we did. And then in 12 months, I had a pretty egregious ask. I asked them to double my salary. So it was like pretty high. It wasn't totally like unreasonable given what people got paid, but I just didn't have enough, experience in that field. I could have gotten there, but I think I ended up getting a 40% increase within 12 months after they asked me specifically, they told me specifically what I need to do. I confirmed with an email saying, here are all the things you said in the meeting, did a 6-month check-in to make sure they were satisfied with my work, confirmed the following things. And then when I went into my review, I was like, what I'm expecting. Here are all the things I delivered on based on 6 months and 12 months ago. So it made it much easier. I will say it was incredibly uncomfortable when I first asked because they did everything in their power not to blatantly laugh, but they were definitely trying to cover up the laughing.
So. That's interesting because that is, to me, impressive, especially what sounds like to be a younger story at that age. Because I'm going to tell you what I did. It's the exact reverse opposite of that. And I still got a raise. But you came with research. And then when that did not work, you did not just give up, put your head down and take what they gave you. You're like, okay, what do I need to get to what I still want to achieve? I'm going to write that down. And then I'm going to hold you as management accountable to this commitment. And I think that is, beautiful. I feel like that is like the 360 that's lost because you're right. It is uncomfortable for them to say no and for you to go back and say, I remember y'all saying no, but here's what you said to get to yes. Let's revisit that conversation. And you tracked it. So,
right. And it was professional. Like, it was like, okay, I understand that it's a no, and this is how I'm looking to grow my career. I think we'll talk more about it, but I think some people bring in personal, like, well, but I have rent or I have student loans, which is not really the manager's concern. Their concern is how you're contributing to the profitability of the company.
Right. And we've got your financial planning course available. They've got 90 seconds to open up and say, you saved the window. We're going to follow up with this, but this was your reward for staying with us, and there'll be more. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yep. So it's 7 days of strategies bundled up really nicely in seven minutes a day and it goes over all of the basics of personal finance. So if you want an intro course or just want a refresher on your skills with personal finance, this is a very quick and easy way. And it comes with a great workbook with little bits of homework to kind of help you improve on your personal finances.
So I only have to twist the knife a little bit. We'll go back to the presentation. But if you're watching the replay, don't you wish you were here? And if you're listening on the podcast, don't you wish you could see this? That being said, let's jump right back into the presentation. I'll keep that live in the chat.